Hi there. Okay, you're sitting down, you got to write this essay. Everyone loves writing essays. And what are some tips that I can throw your way to help you frame this essay? Well, first of all, if you think of it more as a report, that's probably a little less scary. Anyways, I'm going to take you through some steps that have worked for me in the past. And what I would like you to do is, this is a 6-page essay, not including the cover page, the title page, and the reference. So a total of 8 pages. But I'm going to just focus on those 6 pages. So what I do is get a piece of paper and just put down 6 squares. Okay, do that right now. 1, square 2, square 3, square 4, square 5, and square 6. Number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? All right. Take a look at box number 1. What I want you to do there is just divide that in half. So you've got a top and a bottom. What you're going to do is you're going to put in the top of page 1, and you're going to put a subtitle there, Introduction. And in the introduction, you're going to basically explain what learning theory, so which one of the big 5, was it behaviorism, constructivism, social cognitive theory, etc. And you're going to explain the shape of your essay. Half of this is done by just restating in the required sections that you're going to summarize the learning theory, you're going to explain why you selected it, you're going to give a brief overview of the role of the learner, the role of the teacher, and provide 3 examples illustrating what this learning theory will look like in your classroom. Okay, well, 6 pages, you've got a half page done already. Just the top of page 1 is the introduction. Okay, let's skip to page 6. Draw a line dividing page 6 into half. At the bottom of page 6, this is where you're going to be writing your summary. So put in a little header there, summary. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to take 1 or 2 paragraphs and you're going to summarize the points that you hit on in each of the preceding pages. We're talking a paragraph or so, okay? All right, so half a page for the introduction, half a page for the summary. Now we're down to 5 pages left. Okay, so what do we have to do? We have to summarize. The next step is to summarize the learning theory. So what I want you to do is take the bottom half of page 1 and all of page 2, and this is where you're going to summarize the key points of the learning theory. So if you're interested in constructivism, you might want to focus on the aspect of reflection. You might want to focus on the aspect of experiential learning. If you're into humanism, you would focus on the transformational aspect of the humanist learning theory. So I find if you can narrow it down, it's much, much more helpful. Okay, so top page 1, introduction, the bottom of page 1 and page 2. This is as theoretical as this course gets. You got a page and a half to write about transformational learning theory. So you're going to very briefly mention the people that are key in transformational learning theory, and then explain it and maybe give a tiny little example to support the principal concepts of transformational learning. What happens when someone goes through a transformation in their learning? Okay, so what's next? Page 3, what we want you to do there is take a half page at the top of page 3 and just explain why. Why did you choose this? What interested you about experiential learning or cognitive apprenticeships or transformational learning or the behaviorist aspect of how important objectives and how this is very accountable to the content. You can go through there and choose whichever aspect you want, narrow it down, and at the top of page 3 just explain why this aspect of this learning theory interested you. Wow, we're just about halfway done here. All right, the bottom of page 3, what I want you to do is explain how the role of the learner situated in this learning theory, what does that look like in the actual classroom? So if I'm in a classroom, the constructivist classroom, I'm going to be an actively engaged learner. I'm going to have some self-directed aspects where I'm maybe responsible for teaching the rest of the class. All right, so just think of the particular learning theory and the role that the student takes, okay, in that class. We're talking 1 or 2 paragraphs, a half a page. All right, we're coming in to the final 3 pages here. Now we're going to be moving on to the next one is the role of the instructor. So think of your learning theory and the teacher, the instructor, the trainer. What is their role? We know that the role of the teacher in constructivism is to facilitate. And the role of the teacher in the behaviorist tradition is to be the expert. So explain that. So what is it about the expert? Why do you need to be an expert? What fields align really well with that type of a delivery? Okay, perhaps if you're a paramedic, you need to follow these correct procedures, and if you don't, people die. I can see how that would be important. Okay, all right, so a half a page for that, and now you're looking at the bottom part of page 4, page 5, and the top part of page 6, just before your summary there. You've got 2 pages to do. This is the best part of this whole essay, and what we want you to do here in these 2 pages is find 3 examples. Think of 3 examples of activities, instructional strategies, what this learning theory would really look like if you were going to do a lesson, and just explain those. Okay, so just explain them, why they fit, why they align so nicely, and they fit snugly right into this learning theory, and that's it. Okay, this is really neat because obviously you're interested in this learning theory, and so what you're going to do for yourself is think of, kind of interested in constructivism, kind of interested in humanism. Okay, what does this learning theory actually look like in the classroom? Boom, we're done. Finish her off with a summary, add the references and the title page, boomity boom boom, 6-page essay, it's done. Okay, so just start chunking it in as you start learning about this. You can sit down with those 6 pages, divide the lines according to how I specified there, and just start chunking it in, and before you know it, it's done.